Tell us about, Leo, the woman that called with her Avast problem.
Yeah, I wanted to run this by you, and I've talked to some people since who confirm my theory, although it's never.
You were. I listened to you, and I thought you were dead on.
Yeah, Rose, it was a community manager for a local synagogue, and used Facebook to post, information about events and so forth. And at some point, her Facebook stream was hijacked, and Turkish. Spammy links in Turkish to porn sites started to fill her feed. Of course, immediately, most of her friends unfollowed her. They didn't want to see that, and the synagogue probably did the same. And she did everything I thought she should do. It took me half an hour with her. I did 15 minutes on the air, and then I stuck around during the news break to talk some more about it. It took me a while to figure out what was going on, or at least a theory about what was going on. And she did all the right things. She went through her Facebook connected apps and disconnected everything. She changed her Facebook login. She did everything she could. She brought to she said, Israeli security guy, and he cleaned it, ran malware bites and stuff. And I was very puzzled because the thing that really triggered a warning bell for me is she said every time I go to Facebook, it says you have to change your password. And she would not. And I said, well, did it then email you or call, or send you a link? Or she said, no, it was right there. It just says change your password on the Facebook page. And I thought that is not normal behavior. That's not what I would expect from Facebook. So finally, after quite some time, I should have done this right away. I said, well, look at the browser bar. You're on https://facebook.com. Yes. Is it green? Yes. Click the padlock. Okay. Does it say you're on a secure site? Yes. Who's the certificate by?
Nice.
Avast.
Yep.
Avast, which is, of course, an antivirus company. And I dimly remembered us talking about a flaw. First of all,
yes.
Avast, and this is not unusual. I think other antivirus companies do this, and other security companies put a man-in-the-middle certificate in so they can scan all the traffic, SSL traffic.
They have to now.
Yeah.
If they want to look into
SSL,
your secure connections,
right.
That's the way to do it.
Not the way you want them to do it. And that's what Superfish from Lenovo did and others. So that was a man in the middle. But we had talked about the fact that particular, I believe the Avast root certificates had leaked.
They lost their private key, yes.
That's what I thought.
They published it by mistake.
So what I assumed, and I never got confirmation from Rose, but what I told Rose is, well, first of all, get Avast off of there, and you don't want to go to any site that doesn't say the certificate comes from that site. But what I, in the back of my head, was assuming is that some Turkish actor had figured this out and was doing a man in the middle to her using the Avast certificate and hijacking her Facebook traffic.
And the moral of the story for our audience is this is the problem with a third-party interception. I would argue that in a corporate setting, the border proxy, which is intercepting secure connections, is on balance a good thing because the corporation has a need to protect their networks and their users from all incoming traffic. And the only way to do that is to look inside those connections. And in a corporate setting, you're using corporate facilities, corporate bandwidth, and so forth. So employees need to understand they have no expectation of privacy when they're using the corporate equipment, and IT has an obligation, I think, ethically, to make it clear, to print that in a little notice that's stuck on the top of the monitor to remind people that, communications with this computer are being screened for security purposes. In that setting, though, we've got hopefully professional grade IT running real well-designed or hopefully well-designed hardware screening this. The problem with changing that model to everybody's PC is pretty obvious, and that is suddenly that same technology, which is is very powerful is operating in your computer. And we've talked about how the unfortunate side effect of this next generation of very intrusive antivirus is it increases the attack surface. So it could very well be, who knows, maybe every email she sends out has a little tagline added, scanned by Avast AV, and somebody, what you're basically doing is you're broadcasting the fact that there's this, like what your technology is in your machine.
Yeah.
And if any flaw is then found, somebody sends you back a piece of email knowing that Avast is going to scan it. And if there's any problem with what they've got running in the kernel, that's all it takes. And we've seen this. This is not theoretical. This happens. You receive email and it takes over your machine.
What is for a less sophisticated user like Rose, what's the remediation that you would recommend? She could remove the Avast certificate from her, authorities, but that's maybe an advanced thing. Uninstall Avast, would that be sufficient?
I would uninstall Avast, although the problem is if that cert is there.
Cert's now in the accepted cert authorities.
In the root.
Yeah.
It's in her root list of trusted certs. So you absolutely, and you're right, Leo, this is a problem. It's because, as you said, she's doing what she can. But
she got a so-called security expert to look at it. Why he didn't notice this is another matter.
Yeah.
So this is a tough one to fix because she has to know enough to go into the root certificates and
that's my point, is that this is high power technology that you could argue should not be occurring on systems. The AV people have been forced to do this by us all switching to encrypted connections. I just think staying with Microsoft's solution is probably the right approach.
Wow.